Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez would not be close or even a competitive fight in my opinion. I'm sure that sounds like a crazy statement to many of you, so let's talk on it. In the last few days, there's been some reports on a mega fight between Crawford versus Canelo being in the works for a targeted May 2025 date. So with this fight looking more and more likely, I think it's only right we break it down and discuss how this could potentially go down. It would for sure be one of the biggest fights of this generation, with two of the greatest fighters of this generation in the ring together. Would be crazy to see. However, there's a lot of factors that are kind of controversial in this fight, making it a slight mismatch. The main factor, of course, is the weight, considering there's two weight classes between the two fighters. With Terence Crawford recently moving up to 154 pounds and Canelo fighting at 168 pounds, this would be a huge weight difference and definitely a massive weight advantage for Canelo, and I believe they would meet in the middle for a 160-pound bout, but after a rehydration clause, Canelo would still come in much bigger on the night. There's no denying he'll have a huge size advantage over Crawford, but will that mean much in the actual fight? Let's first look at their initial stats. Crawford is 37 years old, 5'8", with a 74-inch reach. Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, is 34 years old, 5'7.5" inches tall, with a 70.5-inch reach. So what's interesting is that even though Canelo is definitely the bigger man, Crawford is actually slightly taller and has a huge reach advantage, which for Crawford's style is definitely helpful. But we have to do more than look at the initial stats, because we're talking about two greats here that are currently both at the top of their game, both world champions in multiple weight classes, and both having faced the highest level of competition. And funnily enough, most people are actually favouring Canelo in this fight purely because of his size, thinking he'll power through Crawford. And I think that's stupid to think, because we're talking about Terence Crawford here, one of the greatest boxers of our era, if not of all time. And I really believe that the only thing Canelo has on Terence Crawford is his size and strength. Other than that, I feel that Crawford is a better fighter in general in most other aspects, from boxing skill to IQ. And if Canelo was smaller, maybe a 154-pound fighter, I would be favouring Crawford all day long. It's the fact that Canelo is so much bigger that makes this fight a controversial one in my opinion. And I'm not here saying that Canelo is not a skilled or high IQ fighter, because he most definitely is. He's a very skilled fighter, but nothing compared to the level of Terence Crawford. Realistically, a lot of the reason that Canelo is as good as he is because of his power, speed, and just sheer dominance in the ring. His ability to walk you down, tire you out, make you vulnerable, and take you out is unmatched to many other fighters. But Crawford is not like any of the fighters that Canelo's fought in the past. He probably won't get walked down as easy and knows how to handle pressure. Now, I'm not saying it'll be impossible for Canelo to walk him down, but I'm just going to say this. Canelo has shown he has weak spots and vulnerabilities in his boxing game. Crawford, not so much. And where do Canelo's weaknesses lie? Against real top, world-class, great boxers with enough skill to keep him away for a whole 12 rounds, keeping their distance and outboxing him. Prime example are his two losses to Mayweather and Bivol. Also, skilled boxers like Caleb Plant. However, he was eventually figured out, walked down, and put away. But I don't think that would happen with a fighter like Terence Crawford. And I don't think it's dumb to say that Crawford could very well outbox Canelo, and quite easily outbox Canelo. And his last fight against Israel Madrimov is stylistically a very similar comparison for how Crawford Canelo could go down. Madrimov was for sure one of Crawford's toughest fights, but he was able to stay composed for 12 rounds to a point victory. Now, Canelo is probably levels above Madrimov, I understand that, and a lot bigger, but I feel that this would only cause Crawford to be more cautious. Crawford in his last fight, we saw him stand toe to toe and get into a lot of back and forth exchanges with Madrimov, but I don't think we would see that same kind of Crawford fighting Canelo. It would be a completely different game plan. It would have to be. The way I see Crawford beating Canelo is by sticking to a fantastic game plan, being able to make better adjustments in the fight than Canelo, and if he could, it speaks volume on how great Crawford is of a fighter. However, on the other hand, this could just end up being a completely dominant show from Canelo, because let's be honest, if Canelo is able to walk Crawford down well enough to the point where he can land something clean, it could be fatal for Crawford. It's a very, very risky fight for Crawford, and there's a lot that could go wrong for him. However, if he really is as great as we think, there's most definitely the opportunity for him to beat Canelo. And although I don't see Crawford hurting Canelo at all, there's a possibility he could take Canelo to a points victory, and that's only if Canelo isn't able to finish him within the 12 rounds. And Canelo is dangerous though. It's really a dangerous fight for Crawford, but it would be very interesting to see how it would go down and how each fighter would react to the other one's style. I do think Crawford will put on a much better performance than 90% of Canelo's previous opponents, but how do you guys think this will go down? Will it be similar, like a remake of Mayweather versus Canelo, or will it be a complete shutdown for Canelo Alvarez? Let us know in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload. Anyways, that'll be all. I'll catch you in the next one.